Serkan Aygin. Today we are going to talk about this particular clinic. It is a very good example to show you what a commercial conveyor belt is. Let's sit down together with you and go through everything from start to finish, just as I do with other clinics. That is, I have not prepared, I just sit down, as they call it, together with you, type in a search engine and show you, and we look together with you what we see. But for this clinic, as well as for many other clinics, I already have additional materials. 3 months, or 4 months ago, I was myself in person at this clinic. Then you won't believe it, it was while I was recording this video that one of the clients from Serkan Aygin Clinic came in. Apparently God sees what I am doing and helps me in my work, and he wants you to see it too. And a little later in the process of the video, I will show you the result of this guy, what he had, what he has become. And we will take apart, let's say, the work, make mistakes, so that you can see what mistakes and what you can probably get also in this clinic. That will be a little bit later in this same video, so stay tuned. Serkan Aygin, whoever calls it that. I just put it in the search and we will start looking and analyzing everything together with you. While I'm opening, I'll tell you about this clinic. It's a very good example, an illustrative example, how there is one of the most popular ways to organize a business, and it doesn't matter what it's in. It's a conveyor belt type of hair transplant. What does that mean? When you don't know specifically who is working, when teams are interchangeable, it doesn't matter who the doctor is, it doesn't matter which teams, which assistants. When you have more requests and more clients, you just bring in assistant teams from other sources. I know I've been told that the same teams, for example, that some have worked or are working at ProMed, we're another one of the worst conveyor belts. They offer from $1,000 for transplants. But at Serkan Aygin, the price is 3,500 euros, so that's twice as much. And at what expense? Because of the doctor's name there? I mean, it's been hyped? Or is there an almost forgotten brand, and at the expense of that, you're paying that extra difference? Is that how it works? The same teams from cheaper clinics can work there. Or rather, they can attract additional teams that do hair transplants in other places, and you as a client will never know about it. Think about it. And of course, 100%, there is good work somewhere. You will find good works in the portfolio. But such businesses, they are organized in what way? When clinics perform many operations a day, they have at least 1 or 2 good results every day. This is what goes into the portfolio, but the rest of it, what happens here is what is called 50-50. And this is your risk for life. I've personally experienced it like this. Okay, but your aesthetic is not a 50-50 thing. It's something that will be with you for life. And why have I spent 5 years of my own life telling you so that you don't become like the herd but find your own way? Because yes, it's more complicated. It has to be analyzed, studied, and many people don't have time or desire. And it is easier to just look, where did that blogger do? Or someone else, or some slightly famous person. Yes, bloggers get paid. Before, if bloggers were fairly inexpensive guys who you could just give free hair transplants to, now you also have to pay for it. And you feel like here, if bloggers are choosing these clinics, they know the quality. They're not choosing, they're getting it done for free to attract you and even getting paid for it. And that's part of the transplant conveyor belt business. Okay, let's get started. Here I have a page opening up. Here's the website. Very nice looking website. It's a very typical story for conveyor clinics too, which is good marketing. Here's Serkan Aygin walking around Berlin. And of course, the first question I asked when I came to this clinic was, does the doctor do any transplants himself? The doctor doesn't do any hair transplants. That's what I was told. So he is, as they say, selling his face. But behold, look at the site. Everything is very nice. A well-organized site. Yes, you are paying for a brand and you are paying for marketing. The medical aspect of it, let's look a little bit further. I mean, these expenses, at least they don't skimp on marketing. So here is a good website. See, good video, everything, good production. If I make you just a video, informational, just from my phone, here are the teams with good cameras. I mean, in order to manipulate you, I need to do that too. But I'm selling you nothing but honest information. And it's important to me that you have honest information. There's Mohammed, Massi, Kevin. I mean, you can see that they're from different countries. I mean, this site needs to learn, and I really like the site. I wondered, who makes such good websites? And going to the page of the company that makes websites, I saw other companies there. Perfect conveyor belt companies too. I know them all. Clinics like Cosmetica, Dr. Akar, Smile Hair Clinic, which I once investigated well and which in fact unfortunately has also turned into a conveyor belt, and other clinics. That is why there is a well-established scheme of conveyor belt transplants. They directly order a good package in one place. You see, they copy and borrow everything from each other because it's easier to gain quantity, that's called, rather than unique quality. Nobody wants to make a Ferrari now. It's more profitable to sell a Renault or a Kia or something like that. Even famous doctors are getting tired of quality, who make at most a few transplants a day and want to delegate the quantity to their assistants already. So the conveyor belt is the most profitable type of business. But I want to tell you that it is the conveyor belts that you should be most wary of. And this I tell you as a person who fell into the clutches of this marketing conveyor, and very sorry about it. Here's a pseudo choice to increase your check. FUE DHI VIP. Conveyors are always trying to give you pseudo choice to maximize your purchase. That's how the marketing department works. The marketing department always works on the sales funnel to get the maximum number of people in, and the option is made. You think, what's the extra option? Maybe this will be better. I will tell you honestly, I personally may have some personal preferences on techniques, but even now I realize that everything depends more on the doctor. A technique is, let's say, a doctor's tool. He himself knows how best to achieve the best result with DHI or FUE. There are certain points at which sometimes DHI and FUE are better, but you have to specifically depend on the doctor. And then there's the VIP, and you're like, oh man, I can afford VIP. What I want to say is that in all conveyor belts, there is always this funnel of your investment in the clinic's purse, that you have a pseudo choice. You'll be given what's favorable to the marketing department. The doctor will already get what the marketing will sell. Okay, all right, let's go in. Check this out. Get more information. And there's no prices here. This is where you have to bid. Well, I'll tell you, the prices are about 3,500 euro for 2025, although the real price of such operations is somewhere around 2,000 euro. That is, those specialists who work, it's about $1,500. And what goes to the doctor himself in such cases, about 400 to 500 euros. The main doctor, 800 to 1,000. And 100% when some bloggers do in such teams, there is still some strong specialist who does really good work. But in clinic conveyors, you don't need to have a strong team. It's enough to have one or two good specialists. And all the rest, there are 10 to 20 teams, are those who work for passability. One, maximum two specialists create a portfolio to which you react. You are already working with ghost teams that have no names for you. And if you don't know who exactly the creator of the work in this photo is, then, sorry, you lose. You should always find out who will do your surgery. Anyway, the website is a great website, and here is the clinic, which is located at the hotel, just on the first floor. There he goes. As far as I know, he's doing the front line, I'm told. Basically, he doesn't do anything else. Well, the website's all good. And the operations? Let's open it up. Here are the works, the best pieces. But when I click on them, unfortunately I can't see anything. Let's see more. And also, by the way, an important point from what I know is that many employees who were good doctors before, who worked here before, they have already opened their practices. But that's also a common story about conveyor clinics. If there are what is called good hands and brain, these assistants, doctors, they get practice on conveyor belts and then open their own practices. It makes sense, generally speaking. In clinics, you can only hide from responsibility and practice on your heads. And also, perhaps this hot Middle Eastern blood, it also makes itself felt, and many Turks compete with each other. Somebody worked with somebody, somebody was somebody's right hand, somebody helped somebody, and at some point somebody didn't get along, and they opened their own offices or other clinics, like, for example, Gynec. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. And they start competing with each other to win. And what does win mean? So they play you, you're the pawns. Some are doing worse, some are doing better. I mean, why do I have such a dislike for someone who's in business instead of medicine and aesthetics? Because such people are always trying to win and beat someone. I mean, someone must have been called an unsuccessful entrepreneur, or maybe someone from a poor family, but I don't like it when they play on us and our aesthetics and medicine. It's not about medicine at all. It is this eagerness to win something from someone, to beat someone. That's why it's also a very popular story in conveyor clinics, winning in business. And how can one win? It is necessary to create a quantity and a mass on which you can, firstly, very well earn, and secondly, to show directly, I am the best here. But believe me, show who is the best real professional doctors who work for themselves and take one or two, sometimes maximum 2 clients a day. Someone takes a couple of clients a week and they're doing a great job. They may not even be super famous, but they quietly do their job. Yes, they just raise the price. Some of them are very high, some of them are not very high, but they work for quality, for their name, and for understanding, for full understanding of what they do. That is, not to show something to anyone, but just to do their job. My advice is to look for those in all fields who do their own thing. Yes, maybe they are unknown, but you get the best result, which costs, for example, $2,500 to $3,000, and not no name and unknown who will specifically do the transplant in this or that case. In general, it is very difficult to analyze operations on conveyor belts by portfolio because, as I said, when you do, for example, 10 jobs a day, you can find one job and present it to you, but you don't know what happens in the other 9 cases. And when you go to that job, it's not even a 50-50 variation of what you get in your case, it's literally 10%. Here is Serkan Aygin himself in his best form, such a Greek god. And I asked, can I see some of this doctor's work? And Serkan Aygin himself, I was told that he does not work. And some other doctor, that is, this information is not available. Okay, we're closing the site. The website is very good. I like it very much. It's very stylish. And here, by the way, look, the doctor has a separate own website. Here is his own site. And also this variation. See, he's so tan. Here's one that says, with the best hair transplant doctor in Europe. With the best hair transplant doctor in Europe again, and this is a doctor who doesn't do transplants. And I asked, if you pay extra, does the doctor do transplants? Does he participate in the transplant, in the surgery? I was told, no, he can't. This is what this Gulner said, and here you are told that with the best hair transplant doctor in Europe. Lies. I hate lies. Here's where the transplant options are. You can't see the frontal line here. Well, once again, I told you about transplant options. It is very difficult to analyze transplant options in clinics, in conveyor clinics. Even here, still, look, a man had everything natural and beautiful, and then they made a stripe here. Why? Well, anyway, it's the first picture I came across. And by the way, there's not a lot of options here. It's also unclear what Grandpa has done here. That is, here he raised his head, and just where is the hair? I don't understand. Well, let's see what else we have. And the next thing you know, there's a bald man. Look what they did to him. There's some streaky, super blurry picture too. Often when there's been no hair at all for a long time and something appears, bald people like it, and this one here is cool. I really like the front line here. That's what I always tell you, honestly. It's good here. My job is to show and explain why it's good, why it's bad. That's a really cool front line right there. Who made that? Which doctor exactly? Text me the doctor, and I'll recommend you personally. See? These front lines, there's some of these, this Turkish squiggle. I mean, and here even, you see a person takes a picture at a certain angle to catch himself where he looks better. Well, maybe that's kind of a good thing. But also even for hair transplants, I mean, I can't say they're terrible pictures, but in such clinics, you can easily choose. There's a portfolio, you can still select it. Okay, sapphire transplant, let's take another look at the eyebrows. Well, the biggest one, but that's just an explanation, there's no portfolio. Well, I like the websites a lot. Very nice site, very well done. This is what their clinic looks like, by the way. I'm not allowed to record there. That's one of the most important things I always pay attention to, and for good reason. I already have a well-established system. If clinics refuse to let me come and have a look, if there is something to hide, then they do not let me show you. Only if they feel they can bribe me. When they realized I wasn't for sale, they wouldn't let me film. Of course, we didn't agree, because I'm not for sale. Dermatologist, 25 years of experience. Years of experience in what? But again, I'm still confused. If I'm told he doesn't work or do surgery himself, what are his years of experience? Walking around the clinic, selling his face. Success rate of 98%. And what kind of success rate is that? And who is it measured by anyway? 10,000 plus satisfied patients. Well, if over 25 years, and I'll tell you, I have over 3,000 or 4,000 patients, clients over 4 years. This is 10,000 in 25 years. It's an assembly line. There's 10 surgeries here. What do these numbers have to do with it? Don't pay any attention to these numbers. It's just a piece of paper. In general, he presents himself too well. Here are even some Paris European Medicine Awards, a conference in Spain, a Rome conference. Okay, there's a lot of that pretty dust we may like. And by the way, this is also how I chose Promed. Marketing packages everything so beautifully that you think, well, man, it's a stable, cool company. And you understand how hard it is to choose clinics, and even more so doctors. It is difficult, and you do not understand how to properly analyze clinics, the medical part. You just trust this packaging. A common practice. That's exactly how I fell for it. Why it triggers me is so you don't fall for it. Let's look at Instagram. 164,000 followers. 164,000 followers. But that's a lot of followers because also please look at the details if there's really that many followers. Here's one comment. Here's 6. One comment, 60 likes. That's how the likes are done. You're emotionally caught up in the clinic and you want to get rid of that damn balding and you're not paying attention to what you should be paying attention to. Details. Let's just open the first one we come across. Amazing transformation and results. Let's open it up, see who's writing. 164 publications. An account with 4 publications, which by the way, also has fake publications. When fake bot accounts are created, there's a small amount there. There may be 15 photos. There's fake activity. Well, that is directly visible. It is fake accounts write reviews. Let's do more in a row. Here, by the way, also one of the most popular and easy ways to fake activity is to hire the same reviews. So you set a task, put 4 palms. Here's 4 palms. 4 palms. And look, 5. See, they're all done at the same time. 5 days ago, all done. That's how fake baiting works. You put what you want in there, and you just have a performer put it in there, and you see they are all done at the same time. So it's a fake account. Very simple. All 5 days, 3 days, more, as if no one writes anything. Not 1 day ago, not 2 days ago. Well, that is all done at the same time. That's how the scoring works. A post is created. 9,750 likes. That is, this is absolutely how the bot works and how activity is scaled up. Well, look at the curved line. There you go. Here they are already, maybe not even selecting what. There, look, amazing, right? What's amazing about it? It's got a crooked front line. It's got these dots on it like a doll. I mean, but it says here, amazing result. So it's a lot of likes, a lot of profiles. Before and after aren't the same. Here it is. You can't see it here. We're going to take apart a live client who contacted me just as I was recording this video. And it's not that I'm looking for a particular result, bad or good, to show you. It's at the exact moment of the video. And the guy came to ask what to do about the situation that he had already had done in the Serkan Clinic. And let's look at it. And in terms of pictures, we have a picture of what the guy had. Now I just want to tell you that I respect each and every one of you because I've been in your skin myself. I'm not one of those people who did a hair transplant or fixed something I didn't like whether it was an SMP, trichopigmentation system, or hair transplant, and came off and said, "That's it, you guys, you stay there somehow with your own problems, and I'm already in a different class of people," as it often usually happens. Because, and that's what happens most of the time, these are the people who break away from their problems, and I call them, right? And they're already starting to feel like everything, they're problem-free, and they're even making money off of you. I'm with you. That's why I respect each and every one of you. And even though it's a free consultation, I still close your eyes. So here's the client who came in for a hair transplant at the Serkan Clinic. This is what he had. And always when you send me pictures, I look at what you had before the hair transplant. Because if I have pictures before the transplant, I have a more complete picture. How did it happen? And to see if there's anything I can do to help after all. Next, and if you look at this picture, you can see that, in fact, the first, second, third zone, and especially the second, third zone, there's a lot of hair that could have been treated and restored in due time. Well, of course, when you go to a clinic, clinics think first of all about selling their services to you. This also explains why I have such a, how shall I say, dislike for conveyor belt clinics. Instead of the right solutions, you're always getting hair transplants. I don't care if someone calls me a hater. I really don't like clinics and conveyor belts because I fell for that one myself. Clinic and conveyor belt is about business. It's not about medicine at all. The medical approach, it should be focused on specific doctors, on specific approaches. Here we have zone 3, which goes down to zone 4. Well, I'm zooming in. Not very good quality. You can still see that there's still a lot of hair that could have been recovered back then. And here we have pictures after the hair transplant surgery. What do we see here? The first is necrosis. And okay, if the issue is not even necrosis. And why, by the way, do many clinics discourage you from the FUE method and say that DHI is the newest, most advanced, and so on? The fact is that not everyone knows how to work with the FUE method, namely with the opening of the canals. It has to be directly experienced surgeons who know how to do it properly. What causes necrosis and other, by the way, not very good, not very favorable outcomes? And only experienced doctors who work with more than 10 years of practice are the people who know 100% how to work with it, if there are any risks, to prevent them in time. People tell you that DHI is the most advanced technology. The fact is that DHI is a technology that you can teach even to a student without surgical opening of the canals. But that doesn't mean that the DHI technique is much better than FUE. FUE just takes skill. Remember this. And so the client, as you can see, has developed necrosis. Speaking of which, maybe that's the reason why the Serkan Clinic now only does DHI. And again, why? Because in order to work well with the FUE technique, you need quality, good doctors. Quality, good doctors will never work for some Serkan or whatever. Their fees are not favorable to the conveyors. So always, practically in conveyor belt situations, it's about students and those who have little experience. Because these are students who need to somehow build their career or work for someone, or not yet established doctors. It's a very good, let's say, initial experience to train on our heads in conveyor belt type clinics. Okay, if we're not even paying attention to the resulting necrosis, what can we look at here? First of all, design. Look at how well the design is done, as if it was done by a robot, not a professional with experience. You see right at the same angles, like it's a saw. And, well, we'll come back to the front line a little bit later where it's more clear and more visible. And these sharp transitions, maybe, of course, a person's hair grows like this. But since we have seen the before photo, and if we look at the photo, there is no such a clear boundary to make it straight up to here, and then plant the way it is distributed in the photo, right here. See? Here. There's a clear strip right there. I have even more questions when we look closer. How the channels are open and their directionality. They go right here in strips. I have made 3 lines here for a reason, so that you can see and trace how everything is done. Our hair does not grow straight as it is shown here. I mean, they go like this somewhere, the growth is like this. They often go sideways, and under the temporal lobe here, as you can see, it goes, I don't know, as if some stupid robot did it all. It's noticeable on the other side in exactly the same way. But more than that, and here's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about, the front line. You always have to look at proportions, and the proportions of your face, even when you want to push the frontal line. And the most they can tell you in clinics is the level of your frontal muscles, although sometimes some of them even put you on the muscles. It's not about muscles. You need to look at the proportions of your face. That is, you also need to start from the distances of these. You're under the temporal lobe. And here I have literally, just schematically, made as it would be worth to make this guy a frontal line. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more here. But not the way it's executed here. As you can see, every proportion that could be broken here has been broken. And what kind of aesthetics are we talking about? And this Dr. Serkan doesn't perform surgery. He only does front lines. But even this kind of front line is completely a fuck-up. So the first point is the front line faults, the design. The second point is how it's all executed. And a little bit later on, you'll see more of the result of what this guy got. And this is what the client has now after, 3 years? We can look at the frontal line here as well. So it feels like wearing, a bathing cap or, a Count Dracula cap. I can tell you that the facial proportions are off here. And here's how the frontal line goes, bang. Where have you seen the frontal line go like this? These are the mobility zones. I'll highlight them so you can see them. Well, in general, if you want, you can stop at the previous frame and analyze again how everything is done. And this is in a clinic that seems to be about aesthetics and good doctors. And let's see what this patient has now after several years. This is what the person got, in fact, after a few years, having already done a hair transplant. It looks particularly good right here. The first very important point is that everyone who is under my personal supervision, I always take a comprehensive approach. If there is a possibility to treat, that's how I tell you about it. And I recommend that you at least consider treating your hair. And treating hair doesn't mean just using it blindly, without some basics, pheno, meno, duda, or whatever. You have to build off of all of that. First of all, I send you for tests, fully diagnose you, and we always look at what has been going on in your life so that we have a complete picture. And depending on this picture, we would understand what we could do about it. And at that moment, and I showed you these pictures for a reason, because it was still possible to treat and successfully heal the hair that is here, and to use not so many grafts to restore literally the frontal line, to compact a little bit the second zone and the third zone. Let me remind you that every doctor always has a specificity, at least my doctors do. I'm always scoping out who works best with front line, thickening, major alopecia, or crown of hair. What we have here is frontal line and thickening. That's all that needed to be done at that time, which is called lost time. Now, unfortunately, a person has to put up with what they have. This here is the first, second, third zone. What it looks like as if there was no transplant, but it already has. Look also at how wrong the hair is growing. Yes, the head is tilted here, and it looks like there's just hair hanging down. But if we look at how the extensions were done, we see that, in fact, the hair grows exactly the same way it was planted. You see, in strips. So once again, what, aesthetics are we talking about when talking about Serkan Clinic? If he controls the doctors himself, if he recruits the doctors himself, and isn't it just all about money, as is usually the case with conduit clinics? You just give me your opinion. Even think about it. How do you control when you have a bunch of doctors, when you have a flood of people? Controlling every doctor and every client? Really? On a conveyor belt, it's important that the process doesn't stop. It's a factory. Every head is a dummy on a conveyor belt. And it's important that the conveyor belt doesn't stop because there's a lot of people working on the conveyor belts. It's the marketing company, it's the salespeople, it's the accountants, the finance department, etc. It's a bunch of people, and they all have to have a paycheck and a profit. Why is it, once again, so dangerous? Any conveyor belt, this is Promit Clinic, Cosmetica, Serkan Aygin Smile Hair Clinic, which I once analyzed which has turned into a real conveyor belt. And I have already told you from video to video how to define a conveyor belt. Then you decide for yourself whether you give your head to the conveyor belt so that it can be a dummy in this big stream of making money, or whether it is better to find a doctor who does 1, maximum 2 surgeries a day, specifically focused on your head. So what happens in these conveyor belts? You can think about it a little bit and figure it out for yourself. You can see everything very well here. The first zone is exactly where the grafts were planted. They were planted wrong direction. Even here we can't really see what his frontal line looks like because his hair is combed forward. Here's the fourth zone. That is, he lost the hair that could be restored. Once again, it is always necessary to look at the complex. Those hairs that can be treated, treat them, and according to the specific situation, as we have here, to take the necessary action. What does it take? Yes, it requires spending more time. What I do? Delving into each individual case. Yes, it's hard, while I'm delving into 10 heads in the same day. So the choice is yours. My job is to give you more information. It's up to you to decide. Let's move on. What else we got? Oh, by the way, let's take a look at the man himself. Here, this is all he does. He's probably drawn himself a front line. The master works, and you can judge for yourself whether it's natural or not. Share it in the comments. I like the beard here, by the way. Maybe it's the angle, maybe there's more. But here it looks good. That's what I'm telling you honestly. I won't keep anything from you. I mean, if it's bad, I'll say it's bad. If it's good, I'll tell you that. Okay, there's a video here too. Here, the conveyor clinics create more from this emotional movement so that you do not have time to remember and emotionally choose the clinics. So here's more of these are the kind of videos that kind of motivate you to get a hair transplant faster, show you the successes of others. That's what marketing works on. So you're not usually buying the medical part and the aesthetics, you're buying the marketing work. And this is a good hair transplant right here. I like it, it's done a little bit, and given that there's dense hair here, it's not done too much and it looks natural. So that's like, who's the creator of this work? Tell me. It's good, it's really good, I like it, and honestly it's good. Let's literally open the first review we see. Here, 22 publications. Here, look, 22 publications, 858,000 subscribers, 22 publications. Here's another basic fake profile. Bots do certain subscriptions and comments to order. This is the result. So you're not usually buying the medical part and the aesthetics, you're buying the marketing work. It looks good here. Yeah, it looks good. So you have to look into it. And if you still don't believe what I'm telling you, please check for yourself and ask who exactly did this job and meet the doctor. Claim that he actually did it. And if you know that he did it, here go to a specific doctor. And not just some Dr. Aygin who calls himself the best doctor and who does not do hair transplant surgery himself. I mean, well, I don't like this kind of fakery which is very much used here. And also remember what I told you about, that there can be invited teams. And here you have a lot of tweaked reviews, fake activity. In summary, by Instagram, you get the point. It's a cheat. 164,000 followers. Even think about it logically. Who needs to sit and follow daily bald heads and transplants? You want to do it and forget about the problem forever. Why would you follow up with bald people and a clinic? So this is how hair transplants usually work. People sign up and unsubscribe. Well, why see all the time the problems you've already gotten rid of? To see that someone has a better result than you, for example. I mean, look for logic, and please think twice. This is Serkan's Facebook. Here, by the way, is what the clinic looks like. This is the entrance. I asked when I was there, why do you have wine barrels? I mean, apparently, Serkan Aygin likes wine. Maybe he likes this style. His employees don't know. Apparently, no one has ever asked such questions. And by the way, you see, the same thing, the same works. So there aren't really that many of them. the same faces in all the portfolios. So if there are so many surgeries a day, but still not many portfolios, you see the same faces, the same faces, the same faces, so there is not a lot of good work for this kind of clinic. And also remember, reviews can often be just for shampoo or a gift from the clinic, and it's important for you as clients to distinguish this so that you don't get hooked. Once again, I'm showing you how you yourself need to review any clinic. Hi, my name is Andrei Bondarevsky, and I'm a blogger.
Клинику доктора Серкана Айгыл. Я очень долго выбирал клинику, очень много людей мне помогало в этом. И вот нашел единственная топовая клиника в Стамбуле, которая мне понравилась. Понравился персонал, все как здесь обустроено, больница как музей. И в общем сейчас я готовлюсь к операции, и после операции я вам дальше все расскажу. Привет, меня зовут Андрей Бондаревский.
As you can understand, I couldn't help but go to Andrei Bondarevsky's account to see the result. But it turned out that he had, in fact, recently undergone surgery. If you look at the profile of this blogger, huge numbers of likes and even reposts, but those are fake numbers. Here, in some posts, apparently, they forgot to order likes after all. You see, I give the first like and there's very little activity. Look at the comments. It's about fake accounts. I probably wouldn't have thought it wasn't real activity if I just didn't know how it worked. The thing is, I myself have some people I know who have huge profiles of likes spooled up. What do they do it for? To get various free goodies and sell their advertising. Of course, for smart advertisers already, there are a bunch of tools to detect fake activity. They tend to be paid. You enter an account there, and you can see how much of it is a fake account, how much of it is bought, sold, bot activity. You can recognize it right away, but even you can recognize it yourself now. Or, again, you just go in and analyze it yourself, just like I do. Andre, it's nothing personal. I'm not accusing you of cheating. That's your personal business. But I'm just sharing what I see myself. If I'm wrong and it's not true, you can contact me, you can write in the comments, or you can just keep silent, but better, of course, react. Tell me if it's true or not. Why is this important regarding hair transplants? Because, unfortunately, you see, in Russia, blogging is like this, not like in the world. And there is a lot of fake stuff here. And people believe that these are really very promoted, very famous people, and that they can be trusted. And you're saying that you've been scrupulously searching for a hair transplant clinic for a very long time. You found a top clinic. But it's not a top clinic. It's a regular conveyor belt that has no relation even close to the world's doctors who do really good transplants. Clinics and conveyors are happy to barter, collaborate, and do free transplants. So it's a straight-up shtick of all conveyors to attract a herd of sheep. I'm sorry, that's the way I say it. So if I am wrong, Andre, please respond yourself. Write a comment. Write that it's not true, I made it all up, I lied, and call me a hater too. I share information that I am aware of because I used to work as a business researcher, and my job was to look for inconsistencies. Basically, all evidence points to the fact that in this case, the hair transplant was done for free for advertising. The clinic gives free hair transplants, and the blogger is obliged to make a certain number of reposts and compliment the clinic. Those famous, really well-known people who do hair transplants, they will never do free transplants. They always pay themselves, and they always hide their names and don't say where they got their hair transplants done. That's the way the real world of celebrities works. How do I know? Because I myself have worked for a long time with celebrities who have a real number of likes, real millions of subscribers, leading to a huge number of comments, engagement, and so on. Dear bloggers, when you finally start to respect yourselves and pay for what you do from your own pockets, not just doing something for free or because you are paid from clinics, but doing it for yourself. Now, it's really about respect. If you respect yourself, people will respect you as well, and not do this kind of cheap collaboration. Don't you have 3,500 euros to pay for this kind of transplant and not tell anyone? Even such clinics, or to save up, for example, $10,000, $15,000 and do quietly excellent hair transplant from a top doctor. You're claiming exclusivity, right? And here he says, I came to the clinic on the recommendation of my friends. I can safely recommend the clinic of Serkan Aygin. So the cost of his consultation is $120. It says he's a cosmetologist, affiliation with the clinic Adam and Eve. As you can see, he himself is very fond of doing aesthetic procedures on himself, including plastic surgery. The clinic is on the first floor of the hotel. They obviously rent the place. Both hair transplants and plastic surgery are located there. I don't know what's going on plastic-wise, but looking at it by himself, the plastic isn't great after all. My subjective opinion. Now let's do a clinic scoring using my one-size-fits-all doctor and clinic rating system and see how much the clinic scores. First, portfolio. Overall, there is work to choose from. I remind you that for factory clinics where more than 3 transplants are done, it's a maximum of 1 to 5 points. In this case, there are good works on display. How many unsuccessful works are there? This is also important and it should be searched and analyzed accordingly. I try to always analyze things honestly. I have no competitors and I don't represent clinics. What's the point? Design? Well, it's actually okay. There are good results that are shown to you, and there are even probably some very nice results. So I'll even put good results. But the point is that you don't see 99% of the other results that aren't shown, and that's very important. You have to search for it. As you saw with me, you're shown the same pictures, and the predictability of the results is not clear to me, nor are the doctors behind each of these jobs. They show you the same thing. It's a classic conveyor belt. Is there planning with momentum in mind? No, just a dialogue with the client. Prices are up to $4,000. That's plus 1 point. Doctor, no data. You can't rate the doctor because it's unclear who exactly is doing your surgery. Doctor's experience is 0 points because I know, I've seen young doctors there. It's 3 to 5 years. Of course, 100% still say there's still some good doctor that works there. But it's unclear who he's working with and whether or not you're going to get him or not, and what exactly he's going to perform on your surgery. Most likely, most often, such doctors just manage other doctors. Doctor theoretician or doctor practitioner, the client doesn't know who will perform the surgery, even when asked. Therefore, minus 2 points. Doctors work in different clinics. There are such facts. In any case, I was told about it that there are teams that are brought in from outside, so it fits under this point, 100%. There are stable teams, I think, for sure, but also that there may be teams that are brought in, and that's a risk for you. So minus 5 points. The doctor's team is fluid. Unstable teams are unstable results. Yes, there may be additional teams involved. Again, it's very important, these points. I mean, minus 5 points because this is super important. It's something that's not going to give you consistent results and something that will give you risk. And risk is, something that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. The clinic is a rented building, plus 2 points. I mean, it's really nice and pretty, something you'll like. But I always tell you, focus on the medical part, not on this gypsy gold leaf. I'll make a video show you what the really cool clinics look like. Many clinics are just super simple because it's about medicine. It's not about dust in the eyes at all. Of course, it's marketing, it's a conveyor belt. You've got to present you with packaging. And that's where the marketing companies come in. The clinic itself, I'll be honest, it's pretty. Are hair transplants the main focus? Yes. Regardless of the fact that they also have plastics, it still seems to me it's their core base, their core business. So plus 1 point, I'll be honest, as usual. Counselors, this is where I put 1 point because depending on what's important to you personally, I like honesty. And so my personal experience is not very much. I don't like falseness, flattery, or eye candy. That's why I give it an average grade. And the reviews. There are really good reviews. They are in favor of the shampoo or not. Here you need to figure it out. But there are good reviews. Transparency, honesty. The clinic is closed for inspection. I mean, they won't let me film because they're afraid some information they don't want to get out. That's why I'm telling you the truth. Bottom line, they scored a 3, which is very low. That's dangerous. I'll explain again why it's dangerous. Because what you're shown can't always be realized on you. That is, there is a percentage that you will get something that can be in this portfolio, but there is a big chance that you will not get it. I hope it's clear to you. Take care. It's not just for fun. I developed this independent evaluation system so that we could rate clinics and doctors. In this case, we actually rated a clinic, not exact doctors. Hi clinic, hi Serkan, and everybody else. If you really like, as you can see, I'm not making anything up, I'm evaluating everything I see and what I've seen in person. If you provide me with specific doctors, I'll check it out, I'll evaluate a specific doctor. I am sure that if I take the best doctor you have, he will have a very good, very positive rating, because we have seen that there are some very good works. Although maybe these doctors are already working in other places. This information is not transparent. But how many of these doctors are there? One, two, and who are they exactly? And can the client choose that particular doctor? So at this point, it's secretive and dangerous. It's a general about business. But if there is a specific doctor to review, then I'm sure it will have a lot more points. Take care. All the best to you.